right, so it's June 29th. It's 9:46 p.m. and your hand gets raised. Mm-hmm. Conor McGregor is very upset and he storms out of the ring. Doesn't even do an interview. The next morning, every brand wants to do a deal with you. What happens to Michael Chandler on June 30th after he beats Conor McGregor?
I call you and I say, Dan, I need some help figuring this thing out.
I'm ready. Ladies and gentlemen, I was about to do the let's get ready, but I can't do that because I don't want to get sued. Nope, I didn't say it. We have a special guest here. It's very rare that we have a recurring guest, but you're probably going to see him multiple times a year because he's a dear friend of ours. He's an iconic athlete. It's fun to talk to him. He's got a great heart. So he embodies everything that we do here, talking about how to make money, how to invest money, how to give it away to charity. He's incorporated all those things into his world, which I really, truly, passionately like because most athletes, sadly, we've heard the statistics, 85% go bankrupt within 5 years of leaving the NFL and the NBA. That is heartbreaking. And so I get really excited when I see athletes like our guests that have investments into companies, tequila brands, everything in between. It's really exciting because that paves the way, especially with how big and famous he's getting over and over and over year after year, for other athletes to see what he's doing. When I say athletes, that applies to influencers, musicians, etc. Being able to invest their money into projects, businesses, real estate, etc. Seeing him do that makes my heart warm because it inspires other people to do that, which is our main passion here with my co-host, The Real Tarzan. As you guys know, I always say The Real Tarzan gets over 200 million views a month on social media, but he showed me his Instagram account today. He's had 195 million views in January. Well, January's not over, so you can do the math. He's going to surpass the 200 million views average, which is absolutely insane. It's really hard to explain, but he's got the stats to prove it every single time. He's been growing 100,000 followers every 3 days, the whole month. We started the month off with 7.6, and now he's at 8.8. It's just absurd. All right, guys, that is a long-winded intro to our special guest today. He is a longtime wrestler, UFC fighter, and more importantly, the way that he just called out his own shot over and over at the end of his matches and manifested what seems to be one of the biggest fights in history and very well could be Conor McGregor's last fight ever. Without further ado, please give a warm round of applause to Mr. Michael Chandler.
Boys, what's up, man? You got me pumped up, man.
Let's go!
Let's go, boys. Let's get ready. No.
Don't say that. It's time. Nope.
No.
All right. By the way, licensing rights. Let's talk about that real quick. The reason that we can't say in that tone, let's get ready to rumble, or it's time, is because Bruce Buffer and Michael Buffer own the rights to those trademarks. Not only do they own the rights, they do it for video games, clothing, but especially for live events, entertainment, etc. Michael Buffer has literally done hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue off that one sentence, that one slogan.
That's crazy.
Bruce Buffer makes really good money. Obviously, he's the host of the UFC and hosts lots of events, hosts lots of charity things, is a fantastic business person also. But the numbers of Michael is I literally can't explain. I've heard some crazy, $300-400 million type numbers. And so when we joke about it, I just want to talk from a business perspective. Licensing rights is how I started my business, how I started my life. I originally owned the catchphrase, "Who's your daddy?" I trademarked it for 300 products. It was 16 class of trademarks, which is very expensive because it's only $800-1,200 a pop. But you got to do that for every class of trademark in every country in the world. You can do the math. Wow. Adds up real quick, especially when I was 18 years old, 19 years old when I did it. However, I ended up licensing it to Starter Apparel just for the UK for $9.5 million, which helped set up my career. And so, licensing rights, something for you guys to think about. If you come up with a catchphrase or a name or a product, whether it's a product like this or a product like the Money Mondays or Young LA Clothing or whatever you're sponsored by or whatever you work with, think about trademarks and licensing rights. Research that after this podcast. Okay, guys, as you guys know, the podcast is 40 minutes because the average workout is 40 minutes. The average commute to work is 40 minutes. So we have about 38 minutes with Michael Chandler. I would like to dive in. Please, if you could give us a 2 or 3 minute bio, we'll get straight to the money.
Quick bio. I was a small guy from High Ridge, Missouri, small town south of St. Louis. Tried my hand at the sport of wrestling, worked out pretty well. Didn't quite make it to where I wanted to be in wrestling as a high schooler. Wasn't a state champ, wasn't recruited by schools. walked on to the University of Missouri. Nobody gave me a shot. I was the lowest guy on the totem pole, ended up becoming an All-American there, but still didn't reach my goals there. Figured I'd try this thing called mixed martial arts. I fought, three months after I graduated, and now 15 years later, 31 fights later, top 5 in the world, I'm still trying it 15 years later, and it's working out really well. But outside of that, obviously that's how I make the bulk of my money, but I've always thought about how do I take that money and invest it into things, people, experiences that are going to then set me up for later in life. And obviously I have a wife and 2 sons now, so the stakes are even higher. So we keep on keeping on and keep on building.
Walk on, you just said. I've seen that you post about that. I've seen in your hashtags. Like, what is walk on to you? Man,
so walk on for me, and it doesn't matter when I do make it, and I say see at the top a lot too, and that's not something I own. Somebody who actually did trademark that, by the way, but I licensed that from somebody. But Zig Ziglar said it. But in that vein, even when I get to the top, it's going to be because of the walk-on mentality. Still, with all of the money, all of the platform, all the lights, all the fame, all of the accolades, everything, still having that walk-on mentality, the white belt mentality. Like we were just talking about jiu-jitsu. Even when you're a black belt, the ones that continue to keep evolving are the ones that have that. I'm still the lowest guy on the totem pole. I still have a lot of open-mindedness and willingness to learn. So everybody's a walk-on, in my opinion, and everybody will always benefit from having that walk-on mentality of knowing that even success is always rented. It's never owned, and the rent is due every single day, and that's kind of the walk-on mentality.
See you at the top.
See you at the top.
Tell me about that.
Man, well, it's a Zig Ziglar quote. He wrote a book. In my mind, he was the greatest speaker of all time. Sure. The late, great Zig Ziglar. But, I mean, see you at the top to me, obviously, it caught fire. I said, in my UFC debut, I knocked out Dan Hooker in 2.5 minutes, yelled, "God bless, see you at the top." And everybody just thought it was synonymous with me, but really it was a hat tip to the great Zig Ziglar. And the biggest thing about see you at the top, too, is it's more about the see you there than it is the me at the top. If I get to the top and I look to my left and I don't see you, and I look to my right and I don't see you, and I don't see anybody else who was coming up with me, if I didn't inspire, if I didn't touch hearts and minds, captivate and capture hearts and minds and make people feel something by my performances, how I live my life, what I do, if I can't look to my left and my right, look behind me, in front of me, and see all the people that I was able to bring up with me, then really I'm just standing there, and it's a very lonely place, right? So that was kind of the mindset behind the see you at the top. It's not a very self-serving, hey guys, I'm getting to the top because I'm the man. It's like, I want to see you at the top, because that's what Zig always said. He's like, if you do this and this and this, I won't just see you at the top, but I'll see you over the top, and I'll see you there with me. So that's, I love his work, and it's very, very rooted in community and what we were created for, creating relationships and community and bringing people up with you.
So on the making money side, there's a lot of people out there that are obsessed with martial arts, whether it's karate, jiu-jitsu, so many different forms of martial arts. Is there money when you're first getting started, and how long do you think, theoretically, we'd have to wait before you can actually start making 40 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand, 200 grand type numbers for the year?
Yeah, it's definitely a cut your teeth type of industry. I mean, I know guys still that I train. I train in a gym down in Florida, and I'm a part owner of a gym in Nashville, and a lot of those guys who are still in their first couple fights, they got some amateur fights where obviously they make no money, and then they're still in that kind of beginning stages where they're making a little bit of money, but really they're losing money, because after you pay for your hotel or your gas money and your food and all that, like they're basically breaking even just to get a win on their record. It really does take there's a little bit of luck involved. Obviously it's a lot of skill. You have to put on great performances, but you also have to be a little bit more marketable. And you also have to have, we just listened to Walter talking. He talked about his high IQ, and you can have a high fight IQ or be really good in the cage, but if you don't have that EQ to be able to have relationships with other people too, because there were sponsors that were giving me free gear, and obviously that's the life cycle of a sponsor, right? You get the free gear, and then all of a sudden you get the free gear and a little bit of money, and then before you know it, you get more money, and then before you know it, you actually get equity in the company, and you keep just kind of working your way up. But that takes the right EQ and doing the right things, being a good steward of the gifts that you were given. So I mean, it could take a couple years before you're really gonna. I mean, it took me. I was fortunate. I did a Bellator tournament where I fought 6 fights in 13 months, and I did three fights in 3 months, and that was a $100,000 tournament. So I made my first six figures within the first 2 years of my career, but that's not normal right now.
All right. When I look at the sponsorship of an athlete, whether it's a UFC fighter, football player, basketball player, I think back to George St. Pierre, GSP. He sent me a deck many years ago, and in that deck was a photo of him, and it showed price points, how much it cost to sponsor his hat, how much it cost to sponsor his sunglasses, how much it cost if you wanted to do anything accessories-wise, how much was it for a necklace or a jewelry brand, how much was it for a t-shirt, but not just t-shirt, main logo, exclusive logo, or multiple patches.
Mm-hmm.
He had his shorts in the photo, right? Each one was 50 grand, 100 grand, 250 grand, or if you want exclusive, it was 500 grand. And it's been burned into my mind for I don't know how many years now, because basically made himself into a $2 million package of a lot of 50K, 100K, 250K. And again, the numbers change for you. Let's say you're a startup fighter, you've had 4 fights. You can make the numbers 1,000, 5,000, 10,000. The number, I don't want to say is irrelevant, but it's adjustable based on your situation. But if you just look at yourself head to toe, and by the way, this applies to an Instagram model, an influencer, a musician, etc. From your shoes, from your socks, from your pants or your shorts, or if you're a dress for Fashion Nova or Pretty Little Thing or whatever, like every part of you as an influencer, look at Tarzan, same concept. It is fascinating when you start to think about that. Well, who should I get for my watch company? Who should I get for my accessories company? Who should I get for my clothing? Who should I get for my headphones? Who should I get for my hat? And you start to look at it, that's who you go out there and DM. That's who you go email. That's who you have your agent call if you have an agent. Go out there and interact with these brands and think about yourself head to toe as a marketing arm. It's so rare that I see influencers or athletes reaching out. Mm-hmm. I have a social media agency. We pay 3,500 influencers. Guess how many were inbound? None. If they weren't a referral, nobody like, hey, I want to be an influencer. It just doesn't happen enough. It's crazy to me how rare influencers, athletes, etc. go out there and reach out to brands. The brands want you guys, right? Who doesn't want Tarzan to have 200 million views? Who doesn't want one of the most famous fighters on the planet to sponsor them? And it's so rare that influencers and athletes reach out to the brands. So if you're listening out there and you are an influencer, athlete, musician, artist, make yourself that photo and say, I'll take $2,000 for my hat, $5,000 for sunglasses, or whatever those numbers are for endorsement deals or for one-off posts or 3 posts. And it will shock you how many brands respond to you. It doesn't have to be a lot of them. You message 100 brands and 3 respond, and all of a sudden you're getting $2,000, $5,000, $10,000 a month. You're making $17,000 a month for sending out 100 DMs. You know how long it takes to send 100 DMs? 1 hour. Because you just copy and paste a picture of yourself and what you want for an endorsement deal. All right, guys. Sorry for my little rant, but it's so rare that it happens.
Good nugget in there. It's good nugget and good wisdom. Effort. Put that effort in too, and that's how those seeds get sown, and then they get reaped. You know.
Yes. So Tarzan, recently you started doing some more endorsement deals. There was you took a break. We were building a freaking wild jungle here. You're bringing in 204 animals, so you were in grind mode, literally spending $3.1 million building an animal sanctuary. Now you started. We went to Dubai. Started talking with brands, and you did a couple endorsement deals. You did a 1-year deal, a 6-figure deal, 1 year with a tequila brand, and then you brought on Young LA recently, also a 6-figure deal, but a long-term deal. How do you decide whether it's Young LA clothing or the tequila brand, etc.? How do you decide who you work with?
All passion projects, As far as like the tequila, it's like a cool bottle. Has a Jaguar logo. I represent, the Jaguar.
Looks like
it's my favorite animal. Something I can get behind. It tastes good. The bottle shaped in the Aztec temple. I'm really into culture. Love hanging out with tribes and learning about warriors. So something I can really resonate with. Young LA, live in California now.
Right.
And actually, it was the first company that gave me a shot with drop shipping merch when I first ever started shipping and doing clothes like 6 years ago. They had like Bradley Martin and themselves, and they were a up and coming growing company, and they didn't have much influences on their shelves, and they put me on their shelves. It was like, we'll ship all your my original wild stuff I had, and we always had a good relationship, a good connection, and just recently they was like, hey, top of the year, we're posting Money Mondays, posting our analytics, and I don't take many brand deals, especially clothing, because we have our Wild Jungle brand, and they was like, dude, let's do a non-exclusive, a couple posts. We got a cool, athletic line, Young LA, just rock it, do your thing, just be organic. Take a photo, make a reel, go work out with it, roll with it, go jungle with it, we don't care. And I'm like, bro, I love that. I love that openness, the creativity, and it's something I can connect with, these are the homies, so.
That's perfect.
All right. Before I eat these while we're watching, I keep staring at them. Cram. All right.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm literally addicted because I eat them all the time, and there's not that many food items that I'm addicted to. Walk me through. You ended up doing an equity deal with them. Walk me through the brand. How do you decide things? You don't have to say the exact numbers, but walk us through the general concept.
Man, so honestly, it's a product, but it does start with the people. Ruth and her son, Austin, they are a mother and son duo, actually out of Northern California. And once I discovered it, tried it, and then I spoke to them, I thought right away, these are people that I want to be in business with, right? Aside from the fact that it's just an on-the-go snack, it's just like our largest competitor, Uncrustable, right? Yeah. But sprouted organic, fermented bread, no sugar added. I also am a father of 2, obviously. My kids love PB&Js, and I want to be more conscious of what I'm giving them, right? So their vision that they had, their actual passion. I mean, they started in a little kitchen about this big, proving the concept and trying to sell them out of their back of their car and bring them to the little grocery stores and little markets and farmers markets, and you could feel the passion that they have for it. And now we're growing like crazy. It's a phenomenal product. We're going to do different renditions when it comes to different flavors and all those different things. So it's really, really cool. It's cool to see the growth, and it's cool to win together, right? I mean, you've done 1,000 of these things now where you get to go into business people, and you're able to take their vision with their passion and their vision with a smaller company, if you will, and just watch it grow massively. So it's just been so extrinsically satisfying, but also intrinsically satisfying to know years ago when we had our first conversation, now a couple years later, to see the growth. So it's really, really cool, and we're just growing like crazy.
How do you decide between cash deals, one-off deals, salary deals, or equity deals?
That's a really, really good question, because I honestly think it's the life cycle of the deal, right? I mean, like I was saying, and you got to make sure that, especially for us fighters, right? When I mentor young guys, I say, hey, listen, don't put the cart before the horse. It's very unbecoming if you come off entitled at all.
For sure.
If anything, do something for less than you think, right? To I call it leaving a little bit of meat on the bone, right? And I've done this with almost every single contract deal I've done. With Bellator back in the day, left a little bit of meat on the bone with the UFC. Then all of a sudden the UFC wants to double my pay because they felt I'm bringing more value than they're paying me. I've done that. I've had that same mindset and mentality when it comes to all of my different deals, right? So, I mean, now I'm at the point where I also know myself, trust myself, and I have to sometimes save myself from myself. Because I know, like when I take on a project like Cram, and I am an owner of Cram, I know I'm going to eat, sleep, and breathe it, and try to. We've had numerous conversations. I'm going to put a lot of effort into it, so therefore the juice has to be worth the squeeze. So at the life cycle or the stage I'm at now too, I want equity in companies more than I want just the cash deals, because I do see the long term, and I do know that I'm going to take the gloves off for the last time, and I do want to be doing business, and maybe we have an exit, or maybe we just continue to grow and grow and grow in numerous ones of these different companies that I'm involved in. But that's mainly because I have a little bit of a heart and a passion for actually being somewhat of an operator and a connector to different people and bringing in different ideas and people who have greater influence, more relationship capital, and you have a good reputation to be able to help a brand to go from where they are to where they want to be.
Tarzan? Wild Jungle now obviously we're making a lot of different products, from pet products that are actually like for dental care for the animals. I mean, we're going on down the toys path. We're doing children's books. We actually finished our coloring book already. Accessories, clothing for humans. So it's like we're doing for children and for pets at the same time. For you, why is Wild Jungle so important, and spending this much time and energy on something outside of the ranch itself and the sanctuary? That's obvious why you like the animals part, but why build it into products for both children and for animals?
The Wild Jungle is so important because I feel it's a new initiative in how to make money for animals. Like, we're tired of the zoos and thinking we're going to save the planet by $30 admissions at the zoos. That's not the way to do it. It's been rinse, wash, and repeat it from state to state, and it hasn't worked. country to country. Hasn't worked. Animals are in zoos and not going back to the wild. People are paying to go to zoos, and zoos ain't saving animals in the wild, at least not at a rate where they're actually making a big difference, you know? And if I look at it from an outside perspective, it's like, man, you know, all these organizations going on, what can I provide and give to the world that's different? Let's sell dog food, cat food, kids' toys. Let's reach the younger generation and grow them up with animals like I was through Steve Irwin or Jane Goodall or David Attenborough. Let's reach the kids, raise them up, give them products, put, you know, wild jungle, you know, scientist kits in every science classroom for free. You know, give dogs that are getting rescued free, you know, vet care if you buy our food, and we stuff like that. We really want to make a change, make a difference. $136 billion a year are spent on dog food and cat food just in America alone. Wow. Every year. 136 billion. If I have a top 10 animal platform on the planet, give or take 5 accounts, if I can land anywhere in the 1 percentile to 10 percentile of that market, how much money can we donate and actually save the wild jungles of the world through our products?
We're gonna find out.
Boom.
we're gonna find out.
We're gonna find out.
Check back in. Yeah.
You know, so that's why, you know, passion. You know, it's a long term thing. You know, the game I'm in is it's a risky game. You know.
You were swimming with sharks last week.
Yeah, the tiger shark survey. You know,
with no gear.
Yeah,
straight with GoPro. You know.
Gosh, dude.
But that's a part of the work. You know, wherever I go, I'm always learning. Tarzan, myself, I'm not just me with all these crazy gifts or these crazy talents. There's so many people that I love and respect and ask so many questions that are actually true experts in certain species. And they're my teachers. You know, I'm just a student gathering so many, you know, informational points from so many different departments about so many different species. And then boom, you got Tarzan. It's me, but a bunch of teachers behind me, you know.
That's awesome.
Michael Chandler, at the end of some of your major matches the last 5 years, you would point and scream at the top of your lungs at Conor McGregor.
Mm-hmm.
And you literally manifested and willed the biggest fight in history.
Mm-hmm.
From someone who has the pick of the litter, right? Because everyone wants to go after him. And they want the hype, the media, the money, and everything that comes with that. And there's 5 or 6 guys in your weight class that have a real shot at fighting him.
Yep.
And you willed your way into it. And then the TV show happened with The Ultimate Fighter. And then all these things occurred. But every single time, I just remember, because I was watching every one of your fights, you just said at the end, I'll see you there, Conor McGregor.
Mm-hmm.
Talk us through that. Basically, your Babe Ruth moment of pointing over and over, and now it's real. It's happening this summer.
Yeah, it's you know, obviously my first fight in the UFC, I shared a card with Conor, and that was my first introduction to the UFC, right? Because I had been outside the UFC for my entire career, and there was a lot of hype coming over with my signing. I needed to have a good showing. I did have a good showing, and then it was time for me to just rattle off this big post-fight speech, and obviously I said Conor's name because ultimately, when I signed with the UFC, I sat in the room with Hunter Campbell, and I said, I'm not here for a long time. I'm here for a good time. I want to fight the biggest and baddest and best dudes possible, and I have done that, right? And Conor is on that list. He's the biggest MMA fighter on the planet. Yep. There was a lot of talk about he and I, and then obviously when the Ultimate Fighter started being talked about, I got that phone call not just because of my exciting fights, not just because me and Conor is a fun, exciting matchup. I was the perfect, great fit for that TV show for The Ultimate Fighter, and I was a great next opponent for Conor McGregor. The excitement, the hype, how big it was, and ultimately too, I just look at it and just realize how God has had me in the palm of His hand my entire career, and how it always ends up working out. It's almost like we can have missteps, we can have miscalculations, we can have quote unquote losses, right? But it's almost like if you never grow weary in doing right, things usually work out for you eventually. All the hard work pays off as long as you're still standing there to receive it when it does. And I've just continued to see these things make bold claims, go out and fight with my heart on my sleeve, fight as hard as I possibly can, make people feel something different. And there was a lot of mutual respect between Conor and I. I think that had a lot to do with it because, like you said too, Conor is he's the biggest draw in the sport, and people want to fight him.
Sought after. Yeah.
So it's a sought after fight, and I think honestly it happened because it's a great matchup stylistically, fighting wise. It's something that people are going to be interested in, but ultimately too, it made a lot of sense for me to step into that role because of the brand, of the reputation, of everything that comes along with my fights. You got a guy who the UFC is like, we want to get our name behind this guy. Why? Because he's a great fighter. He's exciting. And we kind of like him because he does the right thing. He says the right thing. He doesn't try to be something that he's not. He's authentically himself. We like that. And it's worked out really well. And now, June 29th, we go out there and put a stamp on this. And like you said, it could be his last fight, but I'll never tell a guy when to retire, but after what I'm going to do, after what I'm going to do to him, it's going to be a little tough.
We might not have a choice.
It's going to be a little tough.
I mean, we're going to be sitting front row, so
yeah,
it's okay if the blood gets out.
You'll get a little bit. Get a little bit.
All right, I have a very serious question.
Mm-hmm.
When you walk into that ring, I see something different in your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
In those moments, does it feel like you black out and just fucking go for it for the next few minutes or the next 5, 10, 15, 30 minutes, whatever? Is it calm and focused? Is it quiet? Like, walk us through when you walk in the ring and you're standing across from another big name fighter, because your last 3 or 4 fights have been against household names in the game. Like, you went after it. Like, you've just been fighting all the big boys. Like, is it quiet in that arena? Is it loud in that arena? What happens when you walk in?
It is very quiet. You know, obviously during the walkout and stuff, you're still kind of enjoying the moment, right? Yeah, you're still kind of, you're feeling your music, you're going through the thing. But then as soon as I stomp my feet up the cage, there's these metal steps, just like WWE, where they smash them on the right. They're metal steps, and it's like you haven't quite gotten into fight mode yet. You need to feel a little bit of something. So I slam my feet on those steps as hard as I possibly can, and I slam my feet in the octagon. I want to feel that crazy impact into my feet, because then that kind of is my trigger. That kind of turns me into
Showtime.
The other side of Michael, right? You know, it shuts off the nice guy that we all know is sitting here, and I turn into that guy, and I'm calm, I'm composed, I'm quiet. I know what's about to happen. Yeah. I'm not afraid of it. I'm excited for it. I'm excited to get into it, because that's when you know that you're doing what you're called to do. Whenever things that would absolutely scare the heck out of people. Whether it's business, whether it's sports, whether it's anything, entertainment, the things that would scare the death out of people, you know that you were right where you were supposed to be. You got ice water in your veins, right? And I think my biggest thing is looking across the cage and just getting excited. I got this like little smirk in my eye, at the corner of my mouth, right? Just like excited to get into the fight. And it's not because I like fighting. I'm actually a very non-confrontational person. But I enjoy the competition. I enjoy the hand-to-hand combat. I enjoy the high stakes. I've really learned to relish being in an arena full of 20,000 people and knowing millions of people are watching, and braving the unknown, knowing that I could very well end up flat on my back, everybody laughing at me and making fun of me, or I could very well get my hand raised and I'm doing backflips, right? And I love that roulette. I love that roll of the dice, because I think we take too little risks and we don't take enough chances in life, and that is a physical manifestation right there in front of the entire world to see for 15 minutes, and I get to be that guy. It's such a huge blessing, and that's all I'm really feeling in there. It's a huge blessing to be able to do what I do.
Tarzan, you walk into a jungle and you're in India and you're looking for a 15-foot king cobra. Is it quiet? Can you hear the hissing? Do you even realize that other people around you?
It's very similar. You know, those moments are I'm right where I'm supposed to be. You know, a lot of things make me uncomfortable. Cobras don't. You know?
Cobras don't.
No. In the beginning, when I first started with cobras, they was like really scary, and then I just kept going and going. I'm like, man, this is great. But you can't miss. You can't miss, man. That's the thing.
Yeah, don't miss.
You know, you get tagged by that thing. You toast. You're toast. You know.
Okay, seriously, what happens?
Oh, bro, you're toast in India. You're just you ever put like a nice piece of bread in like a toaster and you just leave it and it's brown
just
or
turns,
smoke
And it just pops up.
that's your skin. That's your muscle tissue. That's your nerves. That's no
So
joke.
king cobra bites you in India. What happens?
Indian king cobras are the largest of the king cobras. There's Chinese banded king cobras. There's Indonesian kings. There's Balinese kings. And there's also Indian kings. And dude, they are the big. I think they get 18 feet long. They have enough venom to kill a bull male elephant. Like if it bit an Indian, like an Asian elephant, it could kill it.
What would happen if you got bit?
Oh, we die. You know, so many people that do get bit by cobras, especially king cobras, because they have such a big, huge venom yield. You just die if you don't get immediate help.
Do you realize we got to build wild jungle, right?
Yeah,
we got things to do.
No more of that.
yeah, we'll be all right, man.
But do you have the anti-venom?
Yeah, no,
when
you
you're
can't. There's
doing
nothing you
that
can
kind
do
of
about it. Like you have to go to the hospital. You have to get like an IV and like adrenaline.
far
How
is
close
that?
is a hospital?
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, it depends on where you're at in India. You know, sometimes the hospitals don't have king cobra venom. You got to get it flown in, or you got to fly somewhere else. You got to. It's pretty nuts.
How long before you're toast?
Depends on the snake. Depends on your immune system. Some guys get bit and they're just like, hey, don't freak out. You know, because if you freak out, your stress drops you 10%, 15%, and that might be where you like your life may be at just 15% of you making it, and the doctors bring you back. But if you stress out, you toast.
Your ability to stay calm keeps you alive.
15% keeps you alive.
Same in the ring.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I always talk about this too, because you ever watched a fight and we could be sitting here watching, and you watch a guy who's he looks really, really tired, and we're all like, dude, this is a professional athlete. Did he not train at all for this fight? And it's funny because we're all trained. We all train hard. Obviously, there's discrepancies in who put in the most amount of work, but we're all in shape. But it has everything to do with heart rate, what's going on inside your mind, you know, how fast your blood is pumping through your body, how are you able to calm the nerves, how are you able to stay more in that homeostasis. And the crazy thing about a fight is it's always like this, right? There's moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm about to get choked out, and your heart rate's going through the roof, and then
I'm on top of them.
Yeah, then you get out of it, yeah. Or like, yeah, or the worst is, you drop a guy and you're like, okay, I'm gonna get the finish here. They call it punching a guy out, right? And then all of a sudden you throw 35 punches and he's still standing there. You're like, oh great,
What just happened?
Get out of a second, dude. But unfortunately, you're like, okay, there's 2 minutes and 47 seconds left on the clock, which feels like an hour. Yeah,
Bro.
dude.
All right, so it's June 29th. It's 9:46 p.m. and your hand gets raised. Conor McGregor is very upset, and he storms out of the ring. Doesn't even do an interview. The next morning, every brand wants to do a deal with you. What happens to Michael Chandler on June 30th after he beats Conor McGregor?
I call you and I say, Dan, I need some help figuring this thing out.
Ready.
No, but that is true. Honestly, I seriously would start there. Like, who knows more than me? Who do I know, love, trust? Who's better at this than me? You know, instead of me being like, okay, hey, everybody come to me. Let me take the highest suitor, because it's not always the highest suitor. It's not the most amount of cash. It's not, you know, it really is that relationship capital, and it's who is in your corner. Who
Milet, hello?
Yeah, exactly. Right. You know, it would be those kind of calls where, you know, and honestly, the biggest thing after this fight is, okay, what got you here? And what did we first start talking about? The walk on, right? Because even the guy who was undersized at 14 years old and started wrestling at Northwest High School, and then the walk on at Mizzou, and then the guy who beats Conor McGregor, they still have to stay grounded, right? Even the guy who beats Conor McGregor on the biggest stage possible in front of the most amount of eyeballs, he still has to have the groundedness, have some confidence. Like, obviously I have leveled up. I believe in myself more when I win that fight than I did when I was 14, but you still have to have that humility and say, hey man, I got to stay grounded, and let's maximize this, because I got my wife and my 2 sons, and let's maximize this thing and do it the right way. And I've always wanted to, since the very beginning when I started the sport, I knew I was going to go places, and I always wanted to change the outlook of what people thought an MMA fighter was. If I can do things differently, if I can move differently, speak differently, invest differently, build differently, inspire and motivate differently, then I'm doing something different. And I have this shiny object called fighting. It gets people to look, but it's all the other layers that gets people to stay. It's really just a larger platform and bigger numbers or bigger, brighter lights of me doing the exact same thing and hopefully staying the exact same person, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know?
I actually reference that with Tarzan a lot because he's so calm, humble. We'll be at airports and 45 people try to take a selfie while we're trying to rush to the to the gate, and he stops for every single person, all of them, literally all of them. And the numbers are compounding, and compounding, and compounding. And what happens when you were really excited to get to 8 million, now you're gonna hit 9 million by 2 weeks from now, and then you're gonna hit 10 million. Like when you just think about the sheer math of like how famous you've already been famous, but like June 29th it's over, right? You can't walk outside after that. I mean, you can, but I'm saying like when you walk outside, you're talking about global fame after that fight, especially after you win at 9:46 p.m. Just throwing that out there. And for Tarzan, it's literally can't walk because it's 2 billion views last year alone. So it's literally a third of the human population have seen you in some fashion on social media that we know of. That's just from your social. That doesn't count people reposting your stuff.
Yeah.
And so as that goes into your minds, you guys are two of the most humble guys I know. Like, you know that you're good at what you do. There's nothing wrong with being cocky in the fact like you put in the work to get to become top five in the whole category of what you do. How do you guys stay humble and stay focused and stay calm as you're gaining to this huge top of the mountain situations in both your lives?
Let me get this one off the rip.
Okay.
I think we both can attest. We both know God has given us everything that we have.
Yeah.
And we know it, and we feel it, and we see it, and we know if He gives, He can also take away.
Yeah.
And if we walk around here with our chest out and we're the biggest, baddest King Cobra,
I'm not taking
knock
pictures.
all y'all ain't taking pictures, man, you know. And God's like, let's take that away, you know. And we both know it can happen. And we're both mics. We're archangels.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly, right?
We're archangels, and we got a protection around us, man. And we feel it, we love it, we see it, and we appreciate everybody, you know, because we wouldn't be who we are without the people supporting us, you know. And that's what I gotta say. What you got?
No. I mean, yeah, it's just been a huge blessing. Like I said, my entire life, watching the way it was all orchestrated, and all the lows have always ended up working out, you know, right? And it can be taken away from you very quickly. Heavy is the crown, and hard is the fall, right? Whenever you think that it was all about you, right? Whenever you think it was all about what I did, it wasn't me. It was my coaches. It was my people. It was my people around me. It was the people that believed in you, right? And ultimately, it was our God who blessed us with this ability to do it, right? And for me, one of the biggest things too, aside from that, because I lived my life by that Prefontaine quote: "To give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift." Like, we've been given so many great gifts, and for us not to give our best and do it in a humble manner is to sacrifice those gifts. And I remember the trenches, man. I remember when I worked just to start. You had just as much of a passion for animals 10 years ago as you do now, right? But you just didn't have the following. You still have that same passion. But you remember back in the day when it was just you and you did it for the passion, and it was nobody really cared because you didn't have this big platform, right? I remember working just as hard as all the guys I trained with, but I was a fighter outside of the UFC, and I was asked walking through Vegas, "Hey, dude, will you take a picture of me and Ryan Bader? Will you take a picture of me and Gray Maynard?" And I never let it bother me. I mean, it bothered me a little bit, but I never was bitter. I just knew. I was like, hey, patience.
Yeah, my time will come.
Patience. Patience. And it's the practicing of the patience. It's the coiling of the spring. It's the galvanizing of who you're supposed to become in those moments where it finally pays off. And yeah, I took, 10 pictures today at the airport, and it's like, but it always feels like a new blessing every single time someone does it, because I remember all the times I walked through an airport, nobody who knew who I was, right? Of course, yeah, whenever you guys are getting close to the flight's about to take off, it's like sometimes you're like, okay,
run with me.
It's not an inconvenience, but it's definitely like a deterrent to get you to where you want to be on time, right? So it's just a huge blessing, and it's a platform and a place that you always dreamed of. It's what you wanted. It's what you wanted, right? It's what we all want to get to a place where people know what we do and know who we are and care about what we're doing. and they're invested in what we're doing. And ultimately, they are the people that are going to help you get your message out. You can't help save the animals without the people who believe in you, right? Exactly. I can't make the money that I'm going to make and have the platform if the people don't follow me and buy my pay-per-views and buy my merch and buy my products and all those different things. It's a people business. It's the business of people. And if you treat them right, they will then in return reciprocate that.
Boom.
Last topic, charity. We talked about how to make money, invest money. We talked about some of the major moments in your lives, especially for both of you on the social media side and building brands. Let's talk about the charity side. One charity, I'm sure there's multiple charities that you care about. Let's just talk about one charity that matters to you and why.
So my wife and I, obviously we have 2 adopted sons. And we are right now, we're kind of putting some stuff together, to move in that direction, because ultimately, obviously we have had our adoption journey now twice. And we've being in the space or in the world of adoption, if you will, there's so many people who need resources, who need help, who need just a information. And we have been that to a lot of people, phone calls and speaking to different people and helping make things happen. There's so much stuff that's going on behind the scenes that people will never know about because we don't talk about it. But we have a huge heart for adoption. So we are in the works right now of standing some things up, hopefully here very soon.
How long does it take to adopt? Ballpark.
Well, it's really, that's one of those answers to the question that's always tough, because for us, it has been an absolute cakewalk. And to anybody who might be listening who has gone through the journey, because there's people who wait years.
Yeah, that's right.
And sometimes it maybe never even happens. For us, it was so quick. And part of me wants to feel a little bit guilty for that, knowing that there's so many people out there who have had horror stories of waiting forever or failed adoptions or whatever. But our son Hap, it was a 6-minute match. We literally got an email at 1:40 p.m. At 1:46 p.m. we got a phone call, and then we said yes. And then our son Hap, right? With our son Ace, it was just as quick. It was so quick. As soon as we kind of entered in and you basically have to get approved. Once you go through the whole approval process, it was so quick, and it was absolutely clear to us. This is our next step. This is our son. It's going to happen. And then it happened, right? And so it takes about a year to get all the paperwork and all that crazy stuff done. FBI background checks, financial background checks, health background checks. There's so many different things. Fingerprints at 16 different places. Really? And yeah, it's which is good. I mean, it should be a process. It should be a process that there needs to be a good vetting system. Obviously there's messed up things in the system and things that don't make sense, obviously, but I like that it takes a little bit of time, energy, and effort. But once you get approved, it was very fast for us, but there's a lot of people who are waiting a very long time.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Tarzan, out of the multitude of animal-related charities that you could choose, let's just talk about one. Doesn't have to be your favorite one. Just let's talk about one charity off the top of your head.
Orangutans.
Ooh.
Oh, man. I can go all day, but
Hold on. All right. So scroll back 2 weeks on our social media. Look at the orangutan that fell in love with Tarzan. We were in Dubai, okay? And I can't even explain. It was on site, by the way. There's a bunch of us. We have friends with us. There's like all the sheiks and their whole staff. This orangutan saw Tarzan, made a beeline for him, and just jumped and hugged him. This is not.
You've never met him before?
Never met him in my life.
No.
I like 16 people just seeked me out and chose me out.
She just bear hugged him. No pun intended. She's an orangutan, but she just bear hugged him, and then wouldn't let go for 2 days. Like we ended up staying the night.
Because you
it was just that it was that magical.
You didn't want to have separation anxiety.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't want to leave.
I was gonna go in depression. It was my baby. Yeah.
Dang, dude.
And then the whole time, she could have ripped his arm off.
Yeah. Man.
She's so strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody's looking like, hey, dude, they got their phone ready just in case.
Yeah.
We're a star.
Yeah. But out of all those people, just saw you out.
That goes back to the charity aspect. They're so special, man. I don't know what it is, but I have such a love for apes, chimpanzees, gorillas, orangutans. I mean, again, Tarzan, the whole movie is about him growing up with gorillas and apes in the jungle, So to be able to have a moment as a human and share a moment with a creature so close to us as Homo sapien, a human, and they're a primate. You know, it's magical. You know, and there's a lot of times I've had interactions with chimpanzees and orangutans. I just feel such a connection, and like it's almost even with eyesight. It's like we can look at you like, hey, I know that you know that I know that you are there.
Yeah.
You know, like I know what you're. They're such a thinker. You know, and like I can hang out with an orangutan. You'd be like, hey, take that ring off, and I just like literally grab your hand and it's like, dude, you understood what I just said.
No way.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, take my shoe off. And it's like, oh, I'm tying your shoe.
We have it on video. The orangutan took the water bottle out of my hand, uncapped it, drank, capped it, and handed it back to me on video.
It's insane how smart they are. You know,
dude.
And I want to protect them with my life, because there's people out there that have, you know, showed me what they do for wild orangutans for decades in the jungle, you know, and they have such a positive impact in their community. They have such a positive impact for the species, and they're doing such great work for so long, and they don't, and they're losing help. You know, I got this big platform. I'm like, bro, how can I help? Mm-hmm. Any way I can help. And these people are bringing me through the jungle. They're showing me wild orangutans. We're releasing wild orangutans that were in captivity for bad situations, and they're re-letting them go with the government. It's insane how much work. They have 300 baby orangutans deep in the jungle in an orphanage, just raising them up and letting them go. You know, and it's a lady out there named Dr. Barut Gallicus. Her son actually lives in San Diego. They own orangutan.org. Orangutan Foundation International, OFI, out of Indonesia. I was in Hawaii, and I was walking, and I was like, I'm going to go to the zoo. Went to the zoo, checked it out, and it had an orangutan there. And I saw a female the same size, 46 years old.
Whoa.
Right?
Holy cow.
Insane. Ours we met was 14 years old.
Yeah.
So look at the difference of that. And then I seen the male they had there at the Honolulu Zoo, and he was 280 pounds. I was like, oh, I was looking at him, and I was like, oh my God, he's so big. And I hung out with a 14-year-old orangutan, and Mike, when I tell you, when I had to like let her go, like I had to leave, she didn't want to let me go. So it went from this like, I'm just hugging you to like, now I'm squeezing you with all of my grip and my feet, and bro, I was just unbearable. Like it was like almost I wrestled with a crocodile or something.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and it's so cool that at any moment the animal can just rip me apart. I have no chance of like I don't even have a ounce of get that thing off of me if I wanted to. You know, and it was 5 of us trying to get it off of me, and couldn't get off. She wouldn't let go.
That's how. But going back to where you said it earlier too, that's when you know you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Too. Like one of those moments where it's like all of those people are there, and she's like, "That one, that's the chosen one." Like that's, I know he has something in him. I can feel it. Like, you know, like they can feel that, right?
Yeah.
Whereas me, I probably wouldn't be chosen. Like I would like it. I'd like to look at it, but like, she'd be like, no, he's not into this. But that one, let me jump on him.
So they're special creatures, man.
Yeah.
Special.
So the last 2 weeks I've been filming for season 2 of a TV show called Going Public. 2 days ago, they made me go through a lie detector test. And so for my final question, Michael Chandler, if I had a lie detector test on you right now, on a scale of 1 to 100%, do you win on June 29th against Conor McGregor?
I'm 100% positive that I win on June 29th.
That's my boy.
I think, you know, even just outside of the physical aspect of things, I just believe that I was born for a time such as this. I believe that my entire life has led up to this, and obviously I am very biased because it's me, and I've had a fine tooth comb through the entire thing and seen it through a microscope, but it's all led me to this, and it's the biggest stage possible. I'm better than him inside the octagon. I'm better than him outside of the octagon, and I just believe this is what was supposed to happen. All of those nights where I questioned things and I didn't feel like I was where I wanted to be, it's that moment that I get to do it, and I believe it's going to be masterful, and I believe it's going to be huge, and it's going to be life-changing, and it's going to be fun for all of us.
Well, the world will be watching that night, and sometime in July, we'll probably bring the RV motorhome over to you and do another podcast and talk about your victory with your 100% success rate. I love that. How calm and focused you were in that answer. For sure, the lie detector test did not go off. You passed.
Nailed it.
Got him. All right, guys. So as you know, the Money Mondays, we are now on week 44 out of the 52 weeks, because it's our 1-year anniversary of being number 1 in the entrepreneur category, number 3 in the business category. We know we cannot get to number 1 because it's freaking Dave Ramsey. He puts out a podcast every day. We cannot beat his algorithm. That's okay. But number 1 entrepreneur category, thanks to you guys. So make sure to like, comment, and share, subscribe, etc. But the point of this is, when you're listening to champions like Michael Chandler, business guys, business ladies, entrepreneurs, influencers that we brought onto this podcast, it's because we want you to understand and think about money. We all grew up thinking it's rude to talk about money. And obviously here at the Money Mondays, we think it's rude to not talk about it and have discussions about salaries, loans, FICO scores, credit, how to do this with your banking. Should I rent or lease, or what do I do if my friend owes me $400? Like all the little things that we should have these discussions about, we need to have discussions. And I'm glad that the Money Mondays work out so well as we approach our 1-year anniversary. This might be our 1-year anniversary episode, by the way, Michael Chandler.
Nice. That would be awesome.
So like, comment, subscribe, etc. Visit themoneymondays.com, and we will see you guys next Monday.